Sir, if you can just say your name and count to 5, they can do a quick audio check.
Richard Worley, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I get my name right?
Maybe. All right, thumbs up, camera. All right, sir, you good to go?
All right. Good afternoon. Here with me today is Deputy Commissioner Brian Nadeau, Colonel Ryan Lee, Colonel John Herzog, Chief Olufemi Akani, and Lead Monitor Ken Thompson of the consent decree. This morning, just after 10:30 a.m., officers received a call to 1100 block of Park Avenue for an individual armed with a knife attempting to harm people. Upon officers' arrival, they saw an individual in the hallway on one of the floors. Officer exited the elevator, sees the individual in the hallway with a knife, screaming. The individual retreated into an apartment. The officer made his way down the hallway, waiting for backup. He could hear the individual inside the apartment. Once backup arrived, they tried to get the individual to come out of the apartment. He did. When he came out, multiple officers were trying to de-escalate, trying to get him to drop the knives multiple times. He refused. He came towards the officers. They deployed their taser, which had no effect. One officer did discharge his weapon, striking the victim 2 times, we believe in the lower leg. The individual still did not drop his knife. Officers were not able to get the knife once he fell to the ground. Officers retreated, used their training that they had been provided to try to de-escalate the situation for several minutes. Eventually, they were able to get the individual to drop the knife. Once he dropped the knife, officers were able to take him into custody. Medics were already on the scene right behind our officers. They were able to provide immediate medical attention. The individual was taken to a local hospital. He was still being combative as he was being transported. All of our officers did a fabulous job, used their training and expertise. The mayor viewed the body-worn camera, saw everything, and again, the officers just did a phenomenal job in a very, very chaotic situation by resorting back to their expertise and their training that they've been given. At this point, I will take any questions.
We're going to start with Tommy here at 11 and work our way around. Tommy?
Can you say if the ambulance had to pull over at one point due to the behavior with the victim?
Yes.
And then would you say this was a mental health crisis, or how would you characterize
Yes,
this?
I would say it was. I would say once the officers got there, they realized exactly what it was. That's when they basically resorted to all their training. They tried to de-escalate the situation because at one point, the officer was at the door and he could hear the individual inside, but we weren't sure if there was another person in the apartment. When he came out, the officers tried multiple times to get the individual to drop the knife. And even after he was on the ground, we couldn't get the knife from him. So we retreated, gave time. You could hear the officers say we have plenty of time. And they continued to negotiate with the individual and did a fabulous job, got him to drop the knife. As soon as they did that, we took him into custody. Medics gave attention, and he was transported to the hospital.
Were people on any sort of lockdown inside the apartment complex, and what's the situation right now?
Situation now is the only floor that is part of the crime scene is the one that had occurred. While the officer was waiting for backup and watching the door, one individual did open an apartment door, and the officer told him to get back into the apartment, which they did, and no one else was hurt.
Channel 2?
Has Baltimore Police ever responded to an incident at this particular location, and specifically regarding this individual before?
I'm not aware of that right now.
Okay.
Yeah, we're looking into it. I don't have that information if we did.
Banner?
Are you able to say if this person was a resident of the building?
I don't know. I know he had access. The individual had access to the apartment because they had retreated into one of the apartments and locked the door.
I'm sorry, I came late, so I'll need a summary after.
All right. Any other last follow-up questions?
Can you say if was anyone else involved, or just the individual that opened their door and retreated?
From what we can, it's still an active investigation. From what we can tell, the only individual that was involved was the person who was taken into custody and transported.
Do you have a rough time of like how long this went on for until he was finally?
From the time we got there, maybe 10 minutes total, from beginning to end, from the time the officer got here, got to the floor. But when you're an officer in that scene, it seems like forever before incident, and you get back up. And but the men and women did a fabulous job. It was a high floor, so they had to get up multiple floors to get to him.
One
Thank you.
more. Just, it's MLK Day. It's a special day. Any message you would say to the community to have an incident like this on a holiday like this?
I think what it shows is that we are a different department now. In the past, this might have turned out a lot different, but our officers showed the great training that they have to de-escalate a situation. Even after the individual would come at them with a knife, they still retreated, tried to de-escalate. You can hear when we release the body worn, you'll see how great of a job the men and women did de-escalating that. It's tragic that this happened, but it could have been worse. And now the individual's at the hospital getting the proper treatment that they need.
Thank you, sir.